Yeah, I'm watching the rise, and I wouldn't say I'm shocked, cause I'm hardly surprised. This one's for the ride, this one's for who knew I'd make it, just needed some time. This one's for my wife, could've left 1,000 times, just still by my side. This one's for the grind, I knew it.
Hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Randy Kaye, and I'm the host of the Caught Up Podcast. Today we have Rob Behymer from TGE, or Top Gun Events. Rob has been running this event when it started with the Top Gun Invitational back in 2013. His company has now grown to well over 30 events annually, running events in states such as Alabama, Arkansas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Missouri, Nebraska, Illinois, to just name a few. Rob, it's always great to see you. Thanks for taking the time to catch up.
Thanks for having me today.
You're welcome. How are things?
Things are well. Had the Top Gun invite last week and recovered great. It was a very good tournament for us this year, and we have a new staff, and we've trained them well enough that I had zero reservations and just went out and enjoyed myself this year. And they just killed it this year, man.
Oh, there you go. Learning how to delegate. That's something that I need to do a much better job, and anybody that that knows me would probably agree with that wholeheartedly. Let's start off. I know you just had that event, and we'll jump into that. But let's start off a little bit and talk about, I always want to know everybody's why. What made you get into this? A lot of times, the story starts off with, well, my daughter. But tell me what got you into the event business, particularly in softball, and what drives you to keep doing it all these years later.
Well, my dad. I'm going to start with my dad.
There you go.
My dad passed away in 2010, and we were at his funeral, and it was held in Hannibal, Missouri, which has a population of about 12,000. And it was on a Tuesday night in a snowstorm in the middle of February. And we stood in that receiving line waiting to start the funeral for almost an hour, maybe an hour and a half, shaking hands. I started noticing the people we were talking to, my brothers and myself and my sister, was people he had coached. And what really got to me is one of the people that showed up was from a basketball team he coached in St. Joe, Missouri in 1973.
Wow.
So they stopped the receiving line. They had the funeral. The funeral director came up and said, "You're going to have to go back up in the receiving line. There's still more people outside." There was people stacked down the street in the middle of the snowstorm just waiting to get in. So I looked at all my brothers. I said, I know we're all successful and everything in our careers, but we've done nothing to make a difference like this. This is amazing to me, which set the seed for the Top Gun. And then fast forward, my daughter was playing, and her coach was asked to help with a tournament here, and he didn't want to do it, so he asked me to do it. And it was called the Sonic Invitational. So my job was to fill the 16-year-old division, and I had 16 slots to fill. And it took me 9 months to fill 16 slots. I mean, I worked day and night begging people. I've chased Marty Cooper, I don't know for how long. Finally got him on the phone. He said, "No, I can't come." And I was like, okay. But out of that, I went to the directors. I said, "If you'll give me a date in June, I think I can give you a really big tournament." And they said, "We don't have a date in June. You got to stay in this April date." And I said, "Well, this isn't going to happen." So I went and met with a gentleman by the name of Jeremy McDowell, who was vice president of USSSA at the time. And I told him what I wanted to do. And I had this journal with all these people I talked to get 16 teams. I counted up. I had talked to over 200 teams to get 16 teams. And he goes, "You've sat and talked to these teams." I said, "There's what was said." I had everything written down. He said, "I'm in. Let's go." And out of that came the first Top Gun event, which we had 84 teams, I think from 11 states the first year. So, yeah, it's a labor of love after that, man. Once you get it going, you got to go.
So your daughter was playing, and where was this? Where do you live? Or where were you living at that time?
We live in Kansas City, Missouri. She was playing in Kansas City for a club, and it was called the KC Monarchs. And they had won, I don't know if you remember the old ASA Northern Nationals or Southern Nationals. They had won that twice, once when they were 10 and once when they were 16 years old. And they just, she finished out, and she went to college, had a great career, man. At college, I'm so proud of what she did for herself, and she was self motivated. So I didn't have to get involved and be that dad.
Yeah. So you said you started with your dad. You noticed the difference that he made. What did he coach and where?
So he was an electrician, like I'm an electrician by trade. He was an electrician like me, but he coached youth sports, and he coached softball, baseball, football, and basketball. And obviously, his favorite sport was football. Man, he loved football, and he went on to become later on in life a high school coach in Quincy, Illinois, or a junior high coach in Quincy, Illinois. And but that impact he made on those people, man, I'm standing in that line, and of course your emotions are high. Your dad just passed away, and you see these people, and they're like, thank you, thank you, thank you, and I'm like, I just had no idea. I had no idea youth sports did that. And that's when I decided I wanted to make a difference, but I didn't know how to do it. And then I had an opportunity and took it.
We all do this. I started because both daughters played. And then you kind of just hang around afterwards. And I'll tell you, like the first time that I really realized that coaching without your kids, you better love it, is the first time we went on a trip. And I didn't have my girls or my wife obviously with me because, there was no reason for them to go. But I'm sitting in a hotel room by myself on the road, eating dinner by myself and going, I better love this. So you kind of get bitten by that bug. And I'll be honest, I never really have thought about the impact that we make. Every once in a while I see the posts on social media where people, say that, a coach can impact a life, but it sounds like you got to see that and feel that firsthand.
Yeah, one of the things I've implemented to the Top Gun events, and Top Gun was a thing that was my parents laid upon me and my brothers was grades, getting an education, don't be like us, be better than us, that type of mentality. Is I give away $1,000 scholarships at my tournament. I give away 4 of them every year. This year we gave away our 52nd $1,000 scholarship, and our 4 winners was Bailey excuse me, Bailey, I'm sorry. Bailey Kendrick from Georgia Impact. Bailey Amazua is from Select. Adeline Fleege, which is from Nebraska Prime. And Caitlin Profit, which is from Top Gun Fast Pitch. So, like I said, that's my most joyful moments of the tournament is when I get to go give those scholarships away. And you get to talk about these kids and the impact they've already made at 16, 17, 18 years old in their surroundings. So, it's a pretty cool thing to me.
Is there an age limit, or are those seniors going to college, or are they?
Or
okay.
Yeah, they're 17, 18-year-olds.
Okay, that's cool. And so when did you said you started this when?
2013.
2013. But the scholarships, did you immediately do that?
Yeah,
okay.
We started the first year.
Awesome. Okay. And then, so tell me, you knew you wanted to make an impact. You chose softball because your daughter was playing. You tracked down these 16U teams, and then you said you had your very first Top Gun event. And then tell me about how that went from there. Like you had your first event, or you got your first event going. You started lining up schools or teams in a facility, and then what? And then just keep going. It was a success. Was there anything you weren't expecting or that you learned?
So at that point, Kansas City was kind of starved. They say in business that successful businesses are started just because of the opportunity that's there.
Yeah.
And timing is everything in business. Now you can enhance that, but that's relatively true. Timing is everything in business. When you start, when you do your thing, etc. And at that point, there wasn't a lot of teams traveling to Kansas City. And that first year, I can't remember the coach's name, but there was an Arizona Firecrackers team that came to Kansas City. And he was an older gentleman, kind of tall, kind of heavy set gentleman. And I remember standing there taking a picture of them walking into the facility. And I went, man, we got the Arizona Firecrackers here. And they were good. I think his name was Henry, something.
Jim Henry.
Jim Henry, that was him.
Yep.
Well, we also had Texas Glory come up for it. And I don't know how I got them to come the first year, but I did. And so I remember there was a guy here in Kansas City. His name was Dan Akins, and he used to coach the KC Peppers. He's called the Godfather of softball, along with Earl Tenier. Those two are they started competitive softball here. And he came up to me in the middle of this crowd. There must have been 100 people standing there. And at that time, the KC Peppers were a nationally known, ranked team. They were great. He goes, "Where's all this dang competition you told me you were going to have?" And I remember thinking to myself, I'm looking around, there's people standing there. I'm like, man, I'm going to win it or lose it right here. I said, "Dan, didn't you just get beat?" And he looked at me and he said a few choice cuss words and stomped off. And from that point on, man, the Top Gun took off.
That's amazing. It's funny you remembered. I was hoping, or I thought it was going to be Henry, because if I remember right, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, please don't hesitate, but you were calling, I remember talking to you multiple times, and you would call because I was the Arizona Firecrackers. I used to go, I called it Firecrackers AZ or Firecrackers Arizona, but yeah, and I remember when Jim decided to go up. We, our older team wasn't going to go. And I remember Jim took his group, and I've heard nothing but great things about your events. And even to this day, I was talking with Rose Rogers last weekend at Zoom into June from the USA Athletics, and she was raving about your event and how well it's run and how many coaches show up and the competition. And so that's great to hear. I'm really surprised you remember Jim Henry. He's well known here too. He's done great things for a long time. I haven't seen him in quite a few years.
I got one of those weird memories, man. I remember odd stuff. I can't remember my name half the time, but I can tell you stuff day to day of everything, like the Top Gun or something I've done on electrical or something like that. It's just crazy.
So what's your so you just had your would you say that that's your main event, your biggest event?
But yeah, by far. Yeah.
Okay. So is it your favorite? Because it's got to be stressful. I mean, I know the little friendlies that I run, or even the camps that I do. I'm just coming off my Zoom camp, planning, trying to finalize my my Colorado camp coming up, and those don't have near the traction or probably moving parts that yours does. I can only imagine. Is this your favorite? Is there stresses that stand out, or tell me a little bit about this past weekend's event?
Well, this is the most special event to me. As far as having a favorite, I can't say that because I have a lot of repeat customers that populate these tournaments. And I more so enjoy meeting people and talk. Like, I'll walk into every dugout before the tournament starts and I shake the head coach's hand and I thank him for playing. I do it every tournament I'm at. So, but the Top Gun, up until a couple years ago, it was extremely stressful. And I'm not saying this caused this, but I'm going to give you how small a world we live in softball. Remember, I talked about the scholarships I give away. A couple years ago, about a month after the Top Gun, I had a heart attack. And I'm in the emergency room, and I'm looking at my nurse. I'm like, man, I know her. And finally, it dawned on me who it was. I said, "You're so-and-so. You used to play for the KC Peppers." She's like, "Yeah, who are you?" I go, "Well, I'm Rob with Top Gun." I said, "You won one of my scholarships." Here's the lady.
Oh my gosh.
She won my scholarship. She got a degree in nursing, and now she's taking care of me in a hospital as I'm having a heart attack. So
wow,
that's the part I enjoy now, because now we have a staff, and they're excellent staff, man. And I can go and just enjoy riding around on a golf cart, shaking hands, and talking to people and thanking them. And I mean, that's what I get to do now during the 4 days of Top Gun. It's pretty relaxing to me now.
Okay, so you're pretty much like the in mayor mode, just shaking hands and kissing babies, and no, that's awesome. Is there who's been coming to you the longest? Like, can you name a team? Is there one team that sticks out that has just been coming every year for all these years?
Well, you're gonna get me in trouble here. Nebraska Gold, I think, started with me. This year,
okay.
Ed Nadine came back. He was gone for a couple years, but he came back with the Hot Shots organization this year, and he started out with me. Wasco Diamonds out of Chicago. They've been to every tournament, and I trust me, man. I know there's more, but you're going to get me. Oh,
Oh yeah.
Oklahoma Athletics and Scotty Smith with Oklahoma Epic. They've been every year, and Tulsa Elite. They've been every year.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, it's my bad. That's something. Once you start naming names,
You got to go.
you can't name everybody. And so tell me about this past weekend. What stood out? What it looked like there were some good games. I got on here. It looks like John Corn and the LLG won the 18U bracket,
Well,
or
they
were
tied.
co-champions.
Yeah, they
Co-champions.
tied with Impact Camel.
Yep. Yep.
And then my 12 U's, that was Nebraska Gold Robbie. And then my 14
Okay.
years Georgia Impact Premier won that. 16 Maverick was won by Hot Shots Nadine Villegas. Arizona Storm Mendez won the Viper, the 16 Viper. And Corn and Camel was 18 Maverick. And then Premier Fast Pitch 30 out of Illinois won the Viper.
Gotcha.
Yep.
That looks like a great event. I know I was getting text messages as your tournament was winding down because Mendez was actually just scrimmaging a few teams at my high school a couple weekends ago. And so I was able to watch all of them play, and it was funny because I think Jamie does a great job. She's kind of out there on her own within that organization. It seems anyway from where I'm sitting. But she's done a lot to train those kids. I know some of the stuff that she's done. As a matter of fact, as I was watching that team play that day that they were at my high school, they were wearing eye patches to do vision training
Oh, wow.
during their live at bats. And so the little things like that. So I was actually really happy for Jamie. It's good for Arizona softball. And it's obviously good for her and her brand and what she's doing. So little shout out to Jamie Mendez and her team. Congratulations. I thought that was awesome. And then, yeah, I mean, all the other guys, all the other teams you have there, I mean, those are all well-known organizations, and it looked like a good event. I was kind of toying around on your website. That's pretty impressive. Tell me about, first of all, like I was looking at it. Number one, it's organized. There's a lot of information. And like I was trying to kind of figure some things out as far as like what is the business of, because it look obviously Top Gun events is tournament events and tournaments, but I also noticed you do metrics. You're running camps. Can you kind of explain to me a little bit about what your business model is, or what the flow is of your website?
Well, obviously, I mean, our sweet spot is tournaments. And this year, for the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, we've been toying with metrics and camps. And so this year, we went full bore, and we hired a full-time camp coordinator, and she's in charge of everything we do with metrics, camps, etc. She's doing a phenomenal job, man. She used to pitch at the University of Hawaii, and her but we got into Tag Up, and Tag Up is so technologically advanced. They built that website for us, and they built the system for us for the metrics. And the metrics on that is real time. So a college coach can literally sit in the stands now and watch kids run metrics. It's delayed, so they're not getting it right as it happens, which is legal, I believe. But they can just look right at their phone, and 30 seconds later, there's the metrics popping up, or 1 minute, or however long it takes. It's a crazy system, and the people who own it, they're just wonderful people, man. They just do everything they can to help us. And
Is that David and Kevin? David?
David, yeah.
Yeah.
David's who I deal with. So
Okay.
they do a wonderful job, man. And I urge everybody to take a look at them, because they're Switzerland. They don't care who you're with. I mean, they're not a part of the stuff that goes on anymore. And one of the things that Top Gun did when we went to Tag Up is we became unaffiliated at that point. I think it was one of the best moves we made. It was a hard move to make at the time, and it was scary, but It was one of the best moves we made because now we're attracting people from all corners of the United States. And I know there's beliefs on both sides of who's right or wrong and who's better and who's worse, et cetera. I get it. But I am not in that fight no more, man. All I am is I'm sitting here going, I got a great event for you. I attracted 385 college coaches this year. If that's not enough for you, I'll go to work, try to get the other 15, you know?
Right. What and you still have teams, right?
No, sir. No,
Is that what you meant by you're no longer affiliated?
no, I
Or do
meant
you
that
mean the tournament
I'm
entities?
not with a sanctioning body anymore.
Got it.
We
That's what I figured.
and we're not becoming a sanctioning body either. We're just going to be an events company. So
Just
yeah,
events. Now, so how do you handle, like, obviously there's certain events that you have to score with this platform to get on leaderboards. It looks like your leaderboards are all through Tag Up. Is that right?
correct. Yes.
Okay.
But our
Okay.
leaderboards don't have anything to do with the games. Our leaderboards have to do with the measurables only. So there's
Strictly
not,
metrics.
yeah. So there's no conflict. I don't think there's any conflict there. Um, so our responsibilities at Top Gun are kind of sliced up 50-50 between me and Jeremy McDowell. He's kind of on the back end business side of it, the direction of the staff and, all that part, parks and rec. And I'm on the sales side. So I don't get to talk to a lot of those people and know exactly the details of everything. So if I seem kind of grayish or blase-faire, it's because actually I really don't know most of it. So that's why I say I
Gotcha.
think it's this way.
Yeah. And just for those that may not understand or can't read between the lines, is you're talking specifically you're not no longer affiliated with, and I'll just use the big two, PGF or Alliance. Is that what you're saying?
That's true. Yep, that's correct.
Okay. All right. Just to clarify it for those that may not know the whole game, that the whole in and outs of what goes on within, because it's so funny because I was telling one of my parents, because we use a platform to stream and score, AGL, which I'm sure you're aware of, and
Great
then
guys.
lately, oh yeah, no, they're awesome, and all my teams use it in the org, and because I do believe in what they're trying to do and where they're going. It might be, I think they made a huge jump within the past couple of months. But one of the things I did notice is that we were at a tournament last weekend or the weekend before, and I got a message from Game Changer that said, do this and this and score here based on, these matchups or these already embedded games. And then I got a leaderboard sent to my email that was nothing but a bunch of Excel sheets. And I'm going, I'm not looking through all this stuff. Like I don't have time for that, number one. And number two, that I'm just not going to do it. And the AGL stuff came back in really quickly. I think within a day, with a really nice graphic and you know what I mean? So like you can see that, I don't want to call it a fight, but that drive behind the scenes that happens, whether it's the scoring and streaming platforms or the event companies or the sanctioning bodies or the teams. I mean, there's always that little struggle, but yeah, I'm with you, man. I went to Alliance last year, last summer. This year we're going to PGF. We're from Arizona. The teams that we compete with here locally for kids, they would all rather go to PGF simply because it's a destination point for every Arizonan, Huntington Beach. So, that's where we'll be this summer. Next year, we'll see how it goes. But, yeah, I didn't mean to ramble on, but
Hey man,
what are your
the
thoughts?
way I
What are
look
your
at
thoughts
it,
on all that?
well, PGF's been around for 13 or 14 years now. Um, man, they do a great job. I mean, you
Yep.
go out there, it's well ran. They got a lot of college participation. They have some of the best teams in the nation there. Um, and if you think about it, PGF came as a break off out of ASA.
Mm-hmm.
So then you look at Alliance, they got great teams there. They run a pretty good show. Um, they got technology. And you think about it, they broke off from PGF to start them. So
Yeah.
but you can't. I don't think you can fault one or the other, because I know I'm a very much of a realist. I don't think you can say, well, I'm going to take this side or that side just because whatever your reason is, because you got to look at it objectively, because they're both pretty objectively good if you look at it. You know, I'm very close
Yeah.
friends with a lot of the PGF guys. I've lost some friends over a decision to move. And I'm friends with people on the Alliance side. And, you know,
Yeah.
I truly feel they all have their hearts in the right place, man. They're wanting to do the right thing. That's what I think, at least. I hope I'm never proven wrong about that. But yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about, is just do something right for the kids, man. You know, the colleges aren't recruiting you and I anymore. That's our ship's
No.
passed.
Long past. Some of them ships never left the port. You know? So no, I agree with you. I love I got friends on both sides and all over, and I appreciate it what everybody does. And at the end of the day, I think that the drive to compete just raises the bar and the experience for everybody involved. Everybody that decides to attend whichever event best suits them at that point. Tell me, so like I said, I looked at your website. The other thing I did notice too is there, do you have anything new coming? I saw some media stuff. And I think I mentioned to you when we were talking prior to getting on, I feel like you've done a lot of media before, because you do these selection shows, right? You do those pretty elaborate, pretty well run announcements or selection type show. Can you give me a little insight on what you're doing media wise?
So we've started our own media company for the 6-state region here, which is what we consider 6-state is Iowa and Nebraska and Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. And we've also kind of added in Illinois. Missouri is a very unique state. It's got 8 states touching it. So you kind of can't cut people out of it. We started a media company, and not at the level of Softball America or Line Drive or any of those. We generate stories and details about teams and players in this region. We truly feel there's a lot of talent here now, and we're going through that period where it's kind of our turn to be one of the hot spots. And we're putting as many players up on that platform to get them some publicity that we can. Not the national media people can't do it all always. I mean, they've got a lot of people to turn to. So we're kind of like the local radio station here, trying to help kids in that manner. We hire summer interns that are journalists in college, and we just set them free. Go write the stories, man. I want to see story after story after story. And we're getting it off the ground slowly, but it's going good now.
Yeah, I was looking at it, and I'm actually looking at it right now. And that's what I was clicking for videos and looking for videos, but I realized that these are articles, and when you really click into the read more tab, there is a lot of information about
Yes.
teams and players and coaches at these particular events. So it's a pretty good read. It's I always wonder how some people, not to name drop, but guys like Ramsey Harkness that seem to know every player's name in the book. Maybe this is where he's getting his info, because there's a lot of good info here. So you might want to start charging him for that.
Yeah, maybe.
But then also I saw I clicked on your mic'd up tab, your TikTok tab, and that's great, man. I noticed some really large views and plays and likes. So that's really interesting. Who got you
One of
into
the most
that?
popular things we do is the mic'd up series. Man, people email us all the time. Can we be on mic'd up this week? Can you get us on mic'd up? And yeah, we put it on TikTok. I think the first year we did it, we had a simple picture of Jordy Ball, because she's from Nebraska and she played for Nebraska Gold, and she was in the Top Gun pitching. And I think it got 2.3 million views or something insanely wild. And it was our very first post on TikTok. And I was like, wow, well, there's something here, man. So we started miking up, And once we did, it just took off on us. Like now we got a waiting list to be mic'd up during our tournaments.
No way.
Yes.
What a great idea.
Yes.
And you started that when?
Either 2019 or 2020. Yeah.
Okay.
We have a vice president of business development by the name of Jeff Wallace, and that guy comes up with some of the craziest ideas. And you're like, oh, that ain't gonna work. And all of a sudden, boom, it's the best thing that ever hit around here, you know. And you're like, okay, Wallace, what do you got today? And he'll come up with something.
Man, 2 million views is like, that's not easy to get.
That was our very first.
Really
I think
impressive.
that's what it was on TikTok on our very first post with Jordy just pitching a ball. That's all it was.
You know, it's funny. We were at PGF Nationals. I think it was 2021. And we're playing Nebraska Gold in the second game. I remember exactly where I was at, Field 7. And we had the and of course, again, like to my point earlier, I don't know all the kids from across the country. I know who some of them are, you know, but we hadn't played Nebraska Gold in a few years or ever, for all I remember. But we were facing the kid from Washington, and we put a couple runs early, and we're winning 2-0 early, and then we get a base runner on in that second inning or third inning, might have been second. And out comes from the outfield comes this little left fielder, runs in and gets the mask on and starts throwing. And I'm thinking to myself, we ran that kid out, and man, I think we ended up losing, I don't know, 5-2, something like that. We didn't score another run after that. It was pretty impressive. But that was my my first real introduction to Jordy Ball and what she was able to do. That's a great story, man. So you continue to mic people up, and just out of curiosity, you don't have to share any numbers with me, but have you been able to monetize that channel at all yet?
Nope, haven't even tried.
Nope, haven't tried.
Just something for us to do for the kids.
You know, it's there's people, as I'm sure you know, that make a very good living with TikTok and just views and plays and things like that. So might be something you guys ought to look into, because that might help your scholarship opportunities. You know, you
it
might
would
be able
help
to get...
that, but there's a lot better business people out there besides me, too. Trust me, man.
That's true.
I
get that. I would say the same.
I got a quick story I need to tell you about Jordy Ball.
Sure.
I think 2021, she was in the top. That's the year they won PGF. So in the final, in the pool play, Jordy crossed paths with Keegan Rothrock. Keegan won that game 1-0 or 2-1. In the championship game of the Top Gun that year, those two teams played each other for the championship. Jordy won that game 1-0. The following 2 weekends later, they go to the IDT. They played in pool play, and Keegan won that game 1-0. They got into the bracket in the finals. Jordy won that game by 1 run. So they get to PGF. I'll be darned if they didn't play pool play, and Keegan won the pool play game. And they got the bracket play, and Jordy won that one by 6.
What a great story!
Run. I mean, it was 3 total runs separated all 3 of those games.
Wow. Well, I mean, they've proven to be, you know, every bit of what they showed in travel ball in at the next level.
Oh yeah.
So that's pretty exciting. What do you think about Kennedy leaving Stanford while we're on the pitchers topic?
I don't know that there's anything bad about her leaving. I mean, obviously for Stanford, that's a bad deal, and they're going to have to replace.
That's a tough one, yeah.
An almost irreplaceable pitcher in my mind. But these kids I read an article by Monica Abbott today that stated these girls have 4 years to make their money, because they're not going to make money after they're out of college, and they've got to go get it. Right. And the NILs and the portal has created that opportunity for them. So if she's able to make money, I'm all for her making money. She's a good person, man, and her family's good people. They're from Topeka, Kansas, and I'm all for female athletes making money. I can't imagine softball not being a pro sport right now. And I know there's different leagues out there, but I mean a consolidated MLB or SLB softball league. You know what I mean? Uh,
Oh yeah.
I just can't imagine it. And so these kids can make upward of $500,000 probably, and why not go get it? Because when you're done playing in college, you're going to play a couple years for $30,000, and then what are you going to do? You're going to go to work. So
Right.
I'm all
Yeah.
for it.
I was just curious. I mean, I've been asking a lot of people, just speaking to them, and I actually ran across a post on X from Danielle Laurie, and she basically said the same thing. Like, look, this is where we're at, and this is what it is, and you can't fault somebody for going out and making her money because she's got 4 years to maximize that opportunity, and of course, you feel for Stanford and the coaching staff
Absolutely.
and the players and what is that going to lead to next? Like who's going in the portal next? Because you got to think there's going to be a kid or two that goes, well, shoot, I should probably see what my value is. But at the end of the day, it's where the sport's at. And I asked somebody else too. I said, what do you think about them giving up that Stanford education? And I had a very smart person that I talk to regularly say, it just kind of validates that maybe that education, not the Stanford education, but an education in general is not what it used to be. There's because there are a lot of other avenues to make money, and there are, they're saying if you want to have a successful future as become a plumber, or to your trade as an electrician. I mean, those are very, I'm a machinist by trade. I
Yep.
mean, I could go get a job right now. I probably should, but I spend all my time doing softball. But it's yeah, I mean, I think it's great for her family. Didn't she play for Sluggers, Lady Sluggers?
Lady Sluggers Heckert. Yes. Yes,
Yep,
she
that's what
did.
I thought. I reached out to him recently, told him let's jump on a call too. Um, all right. So, um, what else you got going on? Tell me a little bit more. Is there anything exciting that happened at your tournament? You have anything new or exciting coming down the pike? What do you got?
Well, in the fall, I mean, we've got a tournament. It'll be our fifth year now, and it's been building like the Top Gun and trending in the same way. And I think this year we may be over the top with that finally. And believe it or not, it's November 1st or 2nd week. It's the first or second weekend of November, first weekend of November. And, it's starting to trend. Hot shots are coming now, and the bandits are coming now, and selects coming out. They're all kind of piling back in for that tournament. So that one's going to be pretty special, I think. Um,
Where
and
is
then
that and when?
that'll
You
be
said
in
November?
Kansas City on the first weekend of
Okay.
November. Our draw here, though, obviously Top Gun and the crazy good staff we have, but we have fields unlike what you have out there. Like our fields, we have complexes that have 18 and 20 fields at them. We have multiple ones like that. So I can put a whole age group at one complex of 100 and 200 teams. So the colleges never have
Wow.
to leave. The colleges come in here and they're like, man, we get one hotel room. We're right here. We're not 50 miles away. I mean, we're right here all 4 days. So they stay all 4 days. That's the crazy part. Like I said, I think we had 385 is the current count of college coaches we had this year. I'm pretty sure once the staff gets done going through everything, we're going to be over 400.
Jeez.
And we had 320 teams. So everybody's talking about the offers and the visits and everything they got that they consistently get out of the Top Gun, because we make everybody's so accessible, because you're at one park
Yeah.
with everybody. You get to know people.
Yeah, I talked to Rose about it. I have another parent that I'm close to that was with a team that just went, that we talk a lot, and she said it was great. There's a lot of coaches, and so you're doing a great job over there, man. I obviously, it's no longer a secret, no longer a hidden gem, or I mean it's tough to get into, right? How long is that waiting list? What does that look like?
Oh man, I don't know how many hundreds of teams we turned away this year. And if they weren't on the waiting list, then I put them on the waiting list to get into the Viper. And the difference between the two divisions is the Maverick is by invite application, and then the Viper is by application. What a lot of teams are
Okay.
doing now, taking their first year team and they're putting them into the Viper to prep them
Okay.
for next year when they're the second year team. So a lot of names are showing up now that didn't used to show up, and I never dreamed it would get this way, Randy. I wanted to start one tournament to honor my dad, and it's turned into this company, and that's not what I originally went into it for. I welcome it now, obviously, having a great time with it, but I never dreamed it would get to this. I never thought I'm such a perfectionist. I can remember a couple years ago, me and my daughter Kaye, she works for us part time now, and me and her got into the worst argument right in the middle of the Top Gun because she drove right past some trash. Instead of stopping and picking it up and throwing it away, she just drove past it. And it was that moment that I realized I'm too attached. I had to get away from it because I'm not meaning do away with Top Gun, but I mean other people had to come in and run this thing because I'm too much of a perfectionist. And I'm glad I did, man, because they do a great job. They do a lot better job than I did the previous 10 years. They're good at it.
Did you wear a lot of hats as well? Was that part of the problem? Did you wear a lot of hats
Yeah.
trying to get everything done?
So Jeremy was always able to get the umpires and the fields and the scheduling, but I was always chasing payments. I was chasing registrations. I was getting the teams to say yes, trying to track all that. And I had some help, but man, it just wore me slick. And I just got to the point where I was physically exhausted. And so after my heart attack, Jeremy and I sat down and I said, look, man, we got to do something different. So we just hired people to take over, and he's now enjoying it, man. We were out there cracking each other up at the tournament. My daughter is now the head coach of St. Mary's University softball program. And
Okay.
here's a crazy story. Jeremy is a volunteer assistant with her. And then on the weekends, she works for Jeremy.
Oh my gosh. That's funny. So Kaylee is the head coach?
Yeah, St. Mary's University did a phenomenal
Very
job
cool.
this year. She took a team, their conference record. They only won 7 games in conference last year. Their overall record this year was 30 wins and 17 losses. And had the same kids, man. She did good. She's got
Just
a great
coached them
class
up.
coming in, I think, and yeah, I'm really happy for her. She found her niche in softball.
That's awesome. And you said she played, right? Did she play into college and all
She
that
played all
stuff?
4 years of college, actually, man. She
Where at?
played at a NAIA school called Avila University,
Okay.
and the year before she got there, they had won 30 games for the first time ever. The previous 10 years they hadn't won 100 games in 10 years collectively. And then when she got there, I think her senior class, and I know they're going to text me and light me up for this, but I think they won 143 games her senior class. And the senior class before them won 145. But she ended up being 71 win pitcher in college, and all conference, and I look for her to go into the Hall of Fame one of these days there, because she
That's
set
awesome.
I forget how many records. I mean, a multitude of records there. So yeah, she's doing good now. She's doing real good with her St. Mary's University, and I'm putting it out there, man. She's recruiting and she's going after the kids. She's going after kids. She wants to win a natty, so she's going after them.
There you go. Well, she needs to come check us out because we've got a lot of good kids. So
Yeah,
I'll have to throw that plug out there for myself and the coaches in my organization and the families in my org. So
there's a crazy thing up here. I hate to interrupt you, but if
No
you
problem.
put a 5-hour driving radius around Des Moines and one around Kansas City and one around Oklahoma City, they all transect right down the center in Kansas City, Missouri, those 5-hour radiuses. There are
Really?
134 colleges in those 5-hour radiuses. We call it the I-35 recruiting corridor. So there's so
Wow.
many colleges here, man. And what is so attractive to the West Coast teams, I think I had 28 California teams this year. And what's so attractive to that is California's underfunded. Their scholarship programs are. So they can
Yeah.
come here and get a fully funded scholarship. So that's what I think I'm seeing happening besides the Top Gun itself. I think that's the other issue that's happening is they're coming here and I welcome it, man. Let's bring on the competition. Let's go. You know?
Yeah, I think not only are you giving them good games with the competition, and then of course the event being well run, but you're opening some eyes to a different part of the country that a lot of the West Coast teams did not usually travel to play, and so you're getting kids that look around and go, "Hey, I think I can come to school around here."
Yes.
And so you got to feel a lot of joy and feel satisfied and comforting knowing that you're making a difference in that way too. You're also helping your community and the schools in your community. I'm sure the economy in the hospitality business is thanking you. It sounds like a great thing that you got going, man.
We got some
What
great.
was your dad's name?
His name was Bill, or my name was William Robert, and so was his. I'm the second. He was senior.
Okay.
I went by Rob, my middle name, and he went by Bill, first name. So, um, yeah, he was a tough cuss, man. He had 6 boys to deal with.
That's awesome. I'm sure Bill's proud of you, man.
Oh yeah,
Looking
I think
down
so.
and loving what you're doing.
Yep, I
Because
think so.
you're think about it. So there's no way you saw the amount of lives and the people that he touched. Well, you're touching that many teams that extend out, to 14 players, and you know what I mean. It's just the branch, the extension that you're getting. I don't think you could have ever imagined it, or so that's
It'll
something to
never
be proud of.
it'll never be quantitative. I mean, you can never put a number on it. It's just big, and I'm okay with that. I'm not about I'm number
Yep,
1 or number 10 or number. I don't really care, just as long as I'm doing something.
got it. You have anything for the listeners? Anything you want to share? Um,
You know,
any
I,
insight
I did
on
an article last year
upcoming
on.
events or how to get to your events?
Oh, yeah, like I said, we got the fall event, the select coming up. Um, it's a it's a pretty good tournament actually, and I think the Midwest we've positioned it. The talent here is growing day by day. Last year, I did an article on 17 pitchers from the 6-state region that were all ranked in the top of their class of college they were in. And when you got Nigeria Kennedy and you got Jordy Ball, and I can go down the line of the who's who, Ruby Milan and Lena Votter. People start opening their eyes saying, we got to get to Kansas City. Something's going on there. And kudos to our teams, our parents, our athletes for deciding we're going to make ourselves known here. And the only way to do that is to win. And that's what they're doing. We got,
Yeah,
we got Nebraska Gold here. We got Select. We got Top Gun. We got Iowa Premier. We've got Aces Fast Pitch here. We got the Peppers here. I mean, we got the teams here, right here in this region in Kansas City, and that's not including St. Louis, man. And so I'm pretty happy with where we're at competitively. I'm pretty happy where we're at with our tournaments, and I hope everybody gets a chance to come out and play in one of our events because we're going to treat you like gold, man. That's just we're a customer service company.
yeah. Speaking of all those pitchers, what do you think? Are those guys all doing something a little different, or is there somebody down in that part of the country that's got it figured out?
Yeah, we've got. So I'm not going to name them, but there's a premier pitching instructor in St. Louis, and she used to do all of Oklahoma's camps, and now she's doing all of Oregon's camps. There's one in Topeka, Kansas. She used to be the head coach for University of Kansas. There's one up in Nebraska. There's a couple down in Oklahoma, and all these top kids are going to them. And these pitching instructors, they've got it going on. I mean, they're not cornholed into one pitching instructor, and all these pitching instructors have relationships. Man, it's the craziest thing I ever saw. I saw one of them one time take a video. She looked at me. I was watching the lesson, and she said, "Watch this." Takes a video of a kid, sends it to a Power 5 school, and says, "You need this kid." And literally, this was what was written on the correspondence back. Tell her we'll offer 85%. By the way, what's her name? That's respect, man. You know what I mean?
That's how it works right there.
And that's what's happening here. And then in addition to that, the development of speed here has gotten insane. And they've got kids that are just running blazing fast. So there's a lot of talent here. And I think it's only going to get better. At least we're in our roaring 20s right now with our talent, because comparatively speaking, because for a long time, man, it was all West Coast, and then, kind of Texas, kind of to East Coast. And then it came back to Texas, started growing up with the Bombers and, the Hot Shots and Glory. And now it's kind of moved up. It's our time to shine. And right now we're doing it with pitching.
Yeah. I know. I used to look at, obviously our neighbor, California, as the measuring stick, which you still can't argue with a couple of those.
No.
A good handful of those programs are still on top. But you look out to the Southeast, you look into Texas, you look into the Midwest, and the teams that you named off, the Aces and, Select and, Nebraska Gold and Premier, like all those are all very, very elite programs.
Yeah.
I'd love to see what those guys are doing or figure out, what they're doing. And as you know, obviously it feels like it's all tribal knowledge, but at some point, man, maybe there's a conversation to be had with people that just want to continue to grow the sport. And, maybe there's something other parts of the country can offer them, but it's, the sport's growing, man. I think the very fact that we're sitting here talking about it, on a Tuesday afternoon after your tournament, when you'd probably, normally wanting to get some rest, I think is a testament to where the sport is going and where it's at. And like I tell everybody, I'm excited to be a part of it. And I always appreciate people like you sitting down to have a conversation.
Well, I thank you. I thank you a lot. I thank you for having me here today. I love talking softball, man. I love talking I talk all the time about softball. It's one of the best sports to watch because there's so much strategy and speed. And, and I'm thinking to myself, how can she hit that ball and it's 43 feet away? And when I couldn't do it at 60 feet away, it's just crazy to me. But these kids are talented, and we owe it to them to at least do our best for them.
Well, I appreciate it. You reached out a while back after I think you saw Krista. We had Krista on, and her and I had a great conversation, and we weren't able to connect.
I thought that was a good podcast, man. I thought it was a real good one.
Thank you. Yeah, I thought it was great. I think she. You'll notice most of the good ones that I do it was because the guests they carry it. They really pick me up in those moments, and I just love talking about it. I love being a part of it, and I appreciate you coming on.
Hey, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anything else you want to say really quick before we wrap it up?
No, thanks for having me. I'm always willing to jump on if you need to talk to somebody. Run out of a guest, just let me know. I'll talk.
Awesome. All right. Well, I just want to say thanks for listening. We will continue working to elevate the sport and get caught up with those who are influential in the fast pitch community. And hopefully we can help you navigate your softball journey. If you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Caught Up with Randy Kaye, at Coach KAZ, or you can listen on Spotify, Caught Up with Randy Kaye. You can also follow us on X and on Instagram using the same handles at Coach KAZ. Thanks again for watching and listening.